you've been in the system. So I was looking at your IMDb stuff. I mean, your first credit is 31 years ago. Did I read that correctly? Have you been?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Yeah. I started when I was 8 and done a lot of that was more of commercials back then. Probably done over probably close to 60, 70 commercials through the last 30 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I've been in the business for quite some time.
How did you, well, we'll get there, but I'm just curious. Okay, let me give you a proper introduction. We can roll into it. Guys, I'm talking to Errol Sack. He is a writer, a producer, a director, a model builder. I want to get into the model stuff too, because you got a credit as like a model builder, but you have filmed a spaghetti Western that's coming out. So Errol Sack, thank you so much for being here and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Very, very welcome.
Spaghetti Western 2022. I have so many questions. First of all, I've seen the movie. I really enjoyed the movie.
Oh, great.
Where in the world did you get first? Okay, so the name of the movie is No Name and Dynamite. So right there, I'm thinking Man with No Name, maybe the Duck You Sucker, Dynamite, this thing, your love of spaghetti Westerns, it seems to be seeping out of this project. Tell me about that.
Well, I never went to school, so I didn't really have any rules per se. And starting my first movies back with a VHS tape, pretty much 7, 8 years old, and I would cut it as I was filming. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I'm making a movie. It's like, well, I guess I have to have a script to make it better. And I'm always fighting. It's like, okay, we can't just wing it. So constantly making movies, and eventually, I think done close to 50 short films, and this is our third feature film. The first feature film didn't do so well. At one point, I kept on getting people saying over and over again, like, you have a style, and it's sort of like a spaghetti Western style. I'm like, well, it's very interesting. He says, yeah, you're making modern day Westerns, but spaghetti Westerns, you always have characters and you have a lot of realism in your films, and they relate to the old 60s Sergio Leone movies. I'm like, well, my goal would always be to actually make a Western. Now, to make a Western in a spaghetti form, I'm like, well, if I have that style, let's try it and see what happens. And so that's really where that came from. It's like, well, let's attempt a spaghetti Western. And as we were developing it, it took us about 2 to 3 years of writing it. And then we scrapped it, start again. I mean, we started understanding our characters, like, well, that character want to do this and that character want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, so now we have to worry about the important things. Where are we going to film it? What are we going to do with wardrobe and horses and all that? And so I was introduced to a friend from a friend, and his name was Clint Lilly. Now, Clint Lilly's dad, Jack Lilly, was in Blazing Saddles, and they actually have tons of horses for the studios, and they rent all the stage coaches and all that to like Quentin Tarantino's films. So I'm like, oh my gosh, well, that was a gift to meet him. And then he's like, I have your wardrobe company, International American Costume. They're the ones that used to do the wardrobe for John Wayne. And Luster, the owner of that place, came from Western Costume. He actually just passed away about a week ago. This movie, No Name and Dynamite, was the last movie he put everyone in costume. And that was a couple years ago. Because of COVID, we had to get cut down. But we had Don Collier in the movie, which was in Gunsmoke. And he used to go to this wardrobe place, and he passed away too. Jack Lilly and all of them. So Luster, he got to go out on set and wardrobe everyone. So it was a special deal to have the main guy wardrobe everybody and fit them. And it was wild. He would just go in and find the right hat. And it's like, it was wild. He would just bring out the right hat and it would fit you perfect. It was sort of creepy, actually, in this wardrobe place, and everything he brought out just fit perfect. When he brought us Dynamite, I'm like, oh my gosh, the hat, everything is phenomenal. So it all just started coming together. And then pretty soon it's like, all right, let's film. And yeah.
So you're talking about how people were like, you have a Western aesthetic, like it's coming through in your work, whether you're intending it to or not. Are you steeped in that? Did you grow up watching a bunch of spaghetti Westerns?
Yes.
Okay.
Mostly all the good, the bad, the ugly, the fistful of dollars, all those old ones. I mean, I believe there was close to 600 spaghetti Westerns made in the 60s. So
Yeah.
there's still some I haven't seen, of course, but there's certain styles that I just really enjoyed. And I noticed Ennio Morricone, his best scores were with Sergio Leone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and come to find out, because Sergio Leone and him were helping each other with the score. And so that's another thing. I had to find the best composer I can imagine. And I actually found him, Chuck Serino, which his love for spaghetti Westerns, I mean, I feel like he just nailed the score on this.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that are just nailed here. And for the viewers out there, as this video is coming to you, the film is available now. We'll talk about where you can see it, but you can go see this now. But there's like, I want to say it's kind of cliche, but love letter to spaghetti Westerns. I mean, you've got the animated style opening. You've got the far away shot, the anamorphic lens distortion. My goodness, you've got so many things here that fans of spaghetti Westerns are going to be like, oh, I mean, so authentic. I just tell so much went into it. Talk to me just a little bit more about that.
All right. So yes. So what do? We want a lens that is gonna, and so what did they use? Well, anamorphic lenses, which I did the research on that, and it's like, oh wow, they were actually used in British tanks. That's where the anamorphic lenses started, and then they were used, and then all of a sudden brought to the motion picture business. And so I'm like, all right, let's call some camera houses and see what we can do, of course, within our budget. And we found some lenses that were actually made in the 60s, anamorphic lenses, and we're like, oh my gosh, perfect. So let's see, camera wise, at the time, the best camera right then was the 6K Sony Venice. It had a really good feel to it. And with those lenses, oh my gosh. So we rented about a 5-pack of lenses. There was one zoom lens, because of course, zoom lens back in there, they over exaggerated like crazy because it was first introduced. Mm-hmm. So that was really important. If we're going to do a Western, especially in a spaghetti form, we gotta make it look like that. And that's why the anamorphic lenses came into the play. And another thing that happened that was really important was the fact that they had lots of miniatures in there. So that's why I built a bunch of miniatures for this film. I didn't want to use CGI because you can't use CGI in a Western film. And I went and just took pictures of everything I wanted to build miniatures of. And then I built those actually before we even made the movie. The church was about 6 feet tall by 9 feet wide. And then another thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that our gun blasts were real. So we went out and bought a bunch of 1862 Colts. And we actually put real black powder in them. So because we got to have those big black powder puffs everywhere. So
you're talking about loading real guns with black powder and stuff. This is before all the things that happened on the Alec Baldwin movie, but would that happen now? Would you have any pushback on that now? Would you still be able to do that, do you think?
Well, you know what, because it's a black powder gun and not a gun that you actually put a bullet in. Uh-huh. And the way we handled it anyways, what we would always do, we would never ever have live ammunition on any film ever. It's like something you just don't do. And we definitely had no props of balls to even be able to fit in these guns. So I believe we could still do it. And we had a gun safety guy there. And
where did you shoot this? It's so authentically shot. You were talking about that too. Where did you shoot this?
We shot this in Santa Clarita Valley at Sable Ranch. And we shot it up in Agua Dulce, where the famous Vasquez Rocks is.
Yeah.
And we shot a little out in the desert, mainly just big wide open areas. Especially the desert, but mostly in Agua Dulce and Santa Clarita Valley.
There's a lot of history in that area too for film production.
Yes.
I mean, you're in the grand tradition of some of this stuff, not for spaghetti westerns, but for, you know, American westerns and things like that.
Yeah, so that's we did. It was, where else did we film? Yeah, that's basically, we filmed everything outside and interior, and Sable Ranch was one of the biggest places where they made the movie Call of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same in the western town. We did change the background, so when it looked like more it was in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we changed some things, but yeah.
What has been I can't help but think that making a Western right now is unconventional, because Westerns, even American Westerns, you know, they don't make a lot of them these days. And you're doing something that's even more niche than that. I'm kind of curious what the reception has been, what the creative process, like trying to make this happen, was like as you were making it.
Well, definitely a lot of, and old Westerns, there's always, it seemed like all of them had a very unique, sneaky way of making things happen. There was a lot of twist, and the camera angles were also, they'll show you here and you'll follow them to see over here where they're going. So there was so I guess the cinematography part of it, that was what I really worked a lot of time on, was the camera angles. The prep on that, it's like, okay, I want to show all these little things that are really important. The boots, the close-up of the eyes. I mean, those are so important, especially to emulate a spaghetti Western.
Yeah.
So that was probably the most creative, the hardest part, or difficult, would be just getting the right camera angles and doing it with no drones. And I wanted to make sure we only used dolly and what was available back in the 60s, where Chapman cranes were. So you can do a crane scene, but there's no drones. So we didn't want to use any drones in this film.
You even aged the film. It looks like it's a vintage sort of 60s. It's got like film artifacts, you know?
Yes.
Nice little touch.
We definitely, I felt that was a must to give it that instant classic feel.
Let's talk a little bit more about your cast. You got Vernon Wells, Commando. I mean, my goodness, you got. Tell me, I'll let you tell. Who's in your film?
Vernon Wells, Rich Ting, Chris Northup, Natalie Byrne. Natalie Byrne, I definitely wanted a meaner type woman in the film, and her fighting skills are phenomenal, and she's really awesome at that stuff. And I needed a tough woman to play that part, especially for an outlaw woman being in the 1800s. They better be a little tough. And Chris Northup, not it's acting is something he's always wanted to do, but he is in the business. But when he did his audition, he nailed it so well. It was phenomenal. Vernon Wells, I've always liked him. I mean, he's such a great look. And one of the main things, our heroes like Rich Ting, that was just something to throw different into it, because an Asian playing a lead in a Western is unheard of. So that was something that I felt that we felt that was really important. And another thing is all the characters, we didn't want perfect teeth, no plastic surgery. We wanted everyone to look authentic to the Old West. Definitely by far not clean at all, because there wasn't showers every day. So that was the main thing with the characters.
Well, I think it's a lot of fun. I love that you've created this. I just love as I say, it feels like a love letter, and it really does, because there's so much for fans. I'm a big spaghetti American Westerns and spaghetti Westerns. I'm a big fan of the genre. A lot of people that are going to see this are also fans of Westerns. And there's just a lot of love that I can tell went into this behind the scenes. So tell people where they can see this. How can they actually watch this movie?
All right. Well, February 21st, you can see it on Dish, Spectrum, Vudu, Walmart, Vimeo On Demand, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Cox, Telus, Charter, DirecTV, Hoopla, Shaw TV, Google Play. Now, right now, you can pre-order your DVD on Walmart. You can pre-buy it on iTunes as well. So and that's be all out on February 21st. So that's, you can watch them on all those things. Excellent.
Well, I highly recommend it. I appreciate your time. I should have given you a more proper introduction, but I mean, you're an actor as well. You've Indiana Jones and the
Yeah.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, right? And Grimm. People can see you on Grimm.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for decades, and now what's next? Where do you go from here? Spaghetti Western. Where do you go?
Right now, we definitely want to do. There's talks about a prequel for No Name.
Oh,
and that'll give more background of how, which there's some interesting things there, like Dynamite. How did he get his name? And the interesting thing about Dynamite back in the day, because TNT just blow your head off without any question. Stomach medicine back in 1865 was actually exactly the secret potion to make dynamite. So we were eating dynamite pretty much to help our stomach.
wow.
So there's the prequel has a little bit of history of how Dynamite, our character, got his name Dynamite and how he created dynamite. And he put it all together. So that'll be fun. And then, but we're going to wait for this movie to go a little bit. The next movie in the works right now is a 70s sort of Dirty Harry. So Dirty Harry movies. So our next is something like that, 70s movie called Bullet. And it's this little Dirty Harry with probably a little Cobra. There's a car in it. And probably a splash of 007 in that. But that's going to be a 70s genre as well. And good thing we have the wardrobe for that too.
There you go. That sounds fantastic.
Well, go from there, and then the prequel, and then the sequel. Probably film the prequel and the sequel together for No Name.
There you go. Wow. So you'll have a trilogy. You'll have your
yes,
your No Name and Dynamite trilogy right there, just like the Sergio Leone movies. And that's fantastic. Yeah. I'm excited about this. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I want to encourage people to check this out. A lot of reasons to check it out. One, it's independent. Two, it's a Western. Three, it's coming from a place of love, and it needs our support to get the word out, to support it, to spread the enthusiasm for it. So check it out however you want to, digital, if you can go get the disc in Walmart. Support this, and we'll continue to talk about it in the comments below. Errol Sack, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it very much.
Very welcome. Thank you, and great meeting you.
Great to meet you too. Stay tuned. I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. But guys, thanks so much. Take care. We will catch you later.